Have you ever ran a survey inside your business to your customers? You've gone through the process, you got their feedback, and then you think, what do I do with this information? What now, right? If so, you're not alone. I thought the very same thing after I ran one of my first surveys inside my online course business. I thought, okay, great. How do I use this information to improve my business? So in this video, I'm gonna give you some simple tips of how to use survey results to increase conversions and overall revenue, which is what everybody wants, right? Okay, let's get started. Number one, I want you to do is just start surveying, okay? So even if it's something that's like a pre-done template, just start surveying your clients and getting any and all feedback from them, okay? And start learning a little bit more about who your ideal customer is. And then the second step, which is just slightly more advanced, but here's where I started to get just so much better information, was segment, okay? Segment the people who are responding to your survey. Let's say you're using something basic like Google Forms and you set up a multiple choice question. On the right-hand side of that question, there's going to be 3 dots. You click down and it can basically, based on their answers, send them to different questions next, okay? So if you think about it, not all questions are going to apply to every person that takes a survey. So an easy way that you can do it, and there's different ways that you can segment, but I just broke it into purchasers and non-purchasers, okay? And I would survey my audience. So those who were listening to me, whether they were just listening to my free content or they were paid customers, I created a survey. And then that very first question after I got their information, like their name, their email, was, have you been a student inside the online courses? And then if they said yes, I had a subset of questions that I directed specifically to purchasers to learn more about their experience, how they would rate it. And then if they answered no, I had a different subset specifically to those who have not purchased to learn more about why. So from here, let's dig into examples of what you would ask, like the purchaser segment versus the non-purchasers. So with the purchaser questions I would ask to those who have purchased a product for me, I asked questions about what did they like about it? How would they rate their experience, okay? What was their favorite thing inside the online course? I'd also ask about, hey, what was missing, if anything? If there's anything that you could choose that wasn't here, what would you personally add? And then overall, I wanted to find out, were they a promoter of my business? Were they just kind of neutral, or were they a detractor? It's something called a net promoter score. If you ask, would you recommend the business or would you recommend the product? If they fall within a 9 to 10, that means they're a promoter. They're gonna go out and be a raving fan. They're gonna tell other people about their experience just because they loved it so much. If they fall within a 7 and 8, they're just kind of neutral. They liked it, they got something out of it, but they're not necessarily gonna go and share it with the world. And if they fall within the 0 to 6 out of 10, they're gonna be a detractor. So they're gonna maybe tell people to stay away from your product or business. So you definitely wanna learn what the things were that made them choose somewhere on the scale of 0 to 6, so that you can take that information and improve it inside your business. So just throwing out an example here, they could say, well, I really liked that you had this tutorial, but I really had this question that was never answered inside the courses. So then the next time you create a little content, or however you do your content planning, you can just go ahead and add that to your existing product, your existing course, to help get rid of those answers in the future, right? Within the purchasers too, you're gonna wanna ask questions that kind of have like a fill in the blank. So something like, before the course, I felt blank, or before I used your product, I felt blank. And after I took your course or used your product, I felt blank, okay? So this is gonna help create some natural testimonials that speak to the transformation, which especially with digital products is super important. Never mind what it includes or what it entails, but how does it make them feel? So you'll get people that say something like, before I came into the course, I was super, nervous and unsure. And after taking the course, I feel very confident and that I have a place to turn to if I have more questions. Fantastic, gold star. Take that and put it right on your website, plug it right into your social media. It's gonna help other people relate to what that existing customer has already said about your product, push them over the fence to kind of go, I don't know, maybe, to absolutely yes, I wanna be a part of this course or product. And with purchasers, you might want to dig into what part of their customer journey did they hop on board and purchase? So for me, our product had to do with pregnancy and postpartum. So we would ask a question like, when did you join the course? Was it your first trimester of pregnancy, second trimester, third trimester, postpartum? That would help us learn more about our ideal customer so that we could continue to build out that profile. And as time went on and we surveyed and got more and more customers, our marketing could be even more targeted to when exactly they were specifically at the highest likelihood of purchasing. Okay, let's move on to the non-purchaser segment and what type of questions you might ask to your general audience that hasn't purchased from you. You'd ask questions like, have they considered purchasing from you? And what's holding them back? And you may get some answers like, well, cost, didn't have the money, my partner, spouse said no. You may get very basic questions that will surprise you. Like one that I repeatedly got was, well, I just didn't know when was best to take the course, kind of in their journey of pregnancy or postpartum. So that was mind-blowing to me, and we baked into our marketing messaging, anytime after 12 weeks in pregnancy is a great time to take the course. That's one example. You're gonna find through the results of your survey, what are those things that you're hearing and seeing that you're so surprised that your customers don't know. I think a lot of times in our messaging, we think, oh, they've heard that before. Oh, I don't need to say that again. You may even feel embarrassed or get really sick of what you're saying. And I've learned that that's your sign that, that's when people are probably just first starting to listen. So we do have to educate our customers. We gotta let them know what our product is, what it entails, and what it's gonna do for them, and then paint that picture through real student testimonials as well. Additional examples would be things like, well, I didn't even know you had an online course. Which was like, I felt like when I got that answer, oh my gosh, like that's all we talk about. So it was just a reminder to me to keep educating and to keep sharing and keep reminding my audience, because as we know, not everybody sees every story, every post, every ad. So it's important that we are regularly educating them. We had other responses that said, well, I absolutely wanted to buy, but I wanted to be able to split up the payments. Once again, we already had a payment plan in place. They just didn't know about it. They didn't get to the checkout page and see that. They didn't get that far because they had predetermined, oh, I can't split it up into payments. This isn't for me. So then we started educating weekly that we had a payment plan. Some people said, I'm a second or third time mom. I'm embarrassed to admit I even have to take a class on this. So we would actually take these answers like, didn't have enough money, or didn't know you had an online course, or my spouse said no, or I was embarrassed to admit I needed a class. We would take those real answers and insert them directly into our marketing messaging. So an example would be, did you know we had online courses and we offer this class and actually a bundle of our services? We'd say things like, even if it's your second or third baby, no need to be embarrassed. Everyone needs a refresher because all babies are different. And this journey might be different than your previous ones, right? So obviously your course might not be about babies or pregnancy, but basically use that template to insert your product, your service, what you're gonna help people with to ease their mind and make it an easier pathway to walk right into the doors, of your online course or product. And like I said, several people would say, oh, my spouse, didn't want to spend the money. We would actually spend time in our marketing giving our clients ammunition to take back to their spouse so that they could get a yes and come back and be students inside our course. So we'd say things like, make sure your spouse knows that it saves X amount of money and X amount of time. And also, what is your peace of mind worth, walking into the delivery room or during that postpartum time? We would actually give our potential customers ammunition to use in that all too familiar, chat with your partner excuse. And in this non-purchasers list, I didn't know this was gonna happen, but we actually got testimonials basically by mistake, even in the non-purchaser side. We'd ask a question like, do you wish you would have taken the course? And people would say things like, absolutely, I was on the fence and I absolutely wish I would have taken it because X, Y, and Z problem arose that I didn't foresee. I thought it was going to be easy and it was super hard and unexpected, so I absolutely wish I would have had the courses. So see how that gave us a natural testimonial to then insert, which will help push those fence sitters over the fence into the course, into your product. So that was a really fun surprise that I got from that non-purchaser segment that I wasn't expecting. Okay, and my last tip here, just for your general list, so purchasers, non-purchasers, whoever, is find out as much about who they are and their preferences as you can. So ask them questions like, do you listen to podcasts? Get a read on what percentage of your audience listens to podcasts daily, weekly, however frequently. Then ask them what their favorite podcasts are. Ask them questions about what social media platforms they frequent the most. Ask them about who they'd like to see as a guest on our channels or inside the courses as a guest educator. And we asked lots of questions like that. We gathered all that feedback and all those answers, and then we used those answers to plan our content creation for the next 6 months to a year of who we were gonna have for guest webinars, who we were gonna have as guest educators inside the online course platform, what podcasts we would reach out to ask to be a guest on their podcast, right? So much useful information. Otherwise, content creation, planning, trying to up-level your product or your course can all be guesswork. But you don't have to guess. You can do a survey, get real answers from your purchasers, your non-purchasers, your general audience. Then the planning and the effort that you put into social media or up-leveling your course is much more targeted and much more at a higher level to be able to serve better, get better conversions, and turn more of your customers into those net promoters, those who would rank your product or course a 9 out of 10. Then they become fans, they're spreading the word. And a happy customer, I found, is gonna be like your best return on marketing because they're gonna tell 3 of their friends, right? And so yes, we've gotta do organic marketing. Yes, we gotta learn about cold traffic, but if our product shines on its own, it's gonna be our #1 marketing tool. So as promised, I have a pro tip for you, and the pro tip would be do surveys regularly. It is not a fix it and forget it type thing. It is a very useful tool when you do them regularly, when you pay attention to the responses. We would go through and we would export into like a Google Slides presentation that we could refer back to over and over again when we were planning content or we had time to up-level the paid content. We would always go back to that survey presentation, right? And I would suggest doing something small weekly. So even if it's just something on social media like Instagram stories, polling and getting a read on what people want that week out of your content. Polling and asking, did you like this or that? I would suggest baking this in a small scale weekly. So whether that be free classes or webinars that you put out, make sure to send out a simple survey after each one. Whether it just be something you do on social media to ask people their preferences on what content you should share that week, fantastic way to get past like a content creation block is just ask your audience what they want and utilize polls and things like that to learn more about your audience as you go. And don't forget to note it on your customer avatar doc. Okay, so you're learning more about who that ideal customer is and who your audience is as you go. And then make sure to pencil in a larger yearly survey. Remember we talked about using something like Google Forms, where you can even segment into purchasers and non-purchasers. Do that yearly and really hold yourself accountable. A great extra little nugget there is if you can incentivize your audience with, $100 or $200 gift card, you're gonna get a lot more responses, incentivizing people for the 5 minutes they might spend on the survey, and that will be an invaluable investment into kind of more pointed and directed content creation and up-leveling your course. So I hope you loved all these tips. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.